Hi everyone, and welcome to our June Microsoft updates. I'm Mickey, Cloud Operations Manager from HAYNE.cloud, and I'm going to be taking you through everything that's happened relating Microsoft for the month of June. First up, we have a couple of changes to the Office 365 suite. So first up there is Teams. We're going to be receiving file preview. So essentially what this is going to do, it's going to allow us to preview our Excel, PowerPoint, PDF files, Word documents, all within the Teams client itself. This basically is going to make it so we don't need to open the applications in order to take a look what we've been sent or are about to send. We also have the recording location of our Teams meetings that has been changed. So initially the recordings used to sit in the OneDrive for Business folder of the person who initiated the recording. This has now been changed to the meeting organizer's OneDrive for Business folder. We have also received in Teams a new mute option for the Windows taskbar. I've had on and off experiences with this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I would definitely recommend trying it out for yourself first to make sure that you are muted when the taskbar says you're muted. We then have OneDrive changes. We've got the ability to annotate PDFs without leaving OneDrive. So while in OneDrive, we're going to be able to annotate PDF files by either highlighting them, circling certain content, and then being able to share that content with other people. We then have restricted SharePoint search, which I think is most welcome by a lot of organizations. Restricted SharePoint search is going to allow you to disable organization-wide searches and to restrict both enterprise search and Copilot experiences to a curated set of SharePoint sites that you can basically set up in the background. Additionally, whether you have enabled enterprise search or restricted SharePoint search, users in your organization will still be able to interact with files and content they own or have previously accessed in Copilot. Restricted SharePoint search is going to be off by default. If you do decide to enable it, Copilot and non-Copilot users will be able to find and use content from files that were shared directly with other users, files that the users viewed, edited or created, and then obviously from that allowed list of curated SharePoint sites. This supports up to 100 SharePoint sites at the moment, and will be honoring the site's existing permission structure. So next up, we have the MAM for Windows 365 and AVD. This feature is currently in preview. Previously supporting bring your own devices was a bit of a challenge, essentially, because AVD and Windows 365 end users had the same issues with redirections, whether they connected from a corporate or personal device. Just an example of this, it wasn't possible to allow drive and clipboard redirection on a corporate managed device without allowing the same redirections on a personal device. This was obviously a risk in terms of data loss when corporate data was basically copied onto BYOD devices. This new feature will allow organizations to configure different redirections when they connect to AVD and Windows 365 using the latest versions of the remote desktop client. This is the client that is available on iOS, iPad, and Android, and the Windows app for the same platforms. There are essentially 4 steps that are needed to manage redirection using Intune MAM, and we've listed them here below. So first of all, you need an Intune device filter, you need Intune app configuration policies, you need Intune app protection policies, and then you need CA policies. We've added a couple of screenshots here and a couple of steps in order to set up the redirection. So the first one would be essentially creating a filter for unmanaged devices. As you can see here, all we've done is under the property, device management, operator, equals, and then value unmanaged. Next up, we're going to create an app protection policy to disable the redirection using the remote desktop protocol, RDP, property name of the Drive Store Direct as listed. We have put a link here for anyone who does want to go check that out, and assign a value of 0. Then we will select the groups the Intune app configuration policy applies to. So as you can take a look there, we've in this example applied it to all users, and we have once again selected unmanaged iOS devices. Once we've done this, we will sign into our AVD session host or Windows 365 Cloud PC, and then we can see the below. So on here we have a managed iPad with drive redirection that is allowed, so we can see that drive over here. And over on this side we have it where we have disabled that drive redirection. So in addition to the different redirections, you may also want to require a minimum OS and a remote desktop app. Basically, these are just things we can do to reduce any threats caused by older and potentially unsupported devices that are not current with the latest security updates. So just as an example here, we've got Android 14.0 selected. We've got remote desktop 10.0 as the app version, and then we've determined as secure no threats by Microsoft for Defender for Endpoint. So all these checks will essentially take place before that application can be launched. So without managing the personal device, Intune MAM allows you to disable specific redirections, which we've just addressed above, require PIN access to the app before connection. We can block third-party keyboards, specify a minimum device OS version. We can block jailbroken devices. Everything will be listed here. Next up, we've got a feature, Windows 11 config refresh, which I think is incredibly useful. In general, settings are evaluated during Intune check-in, which happens around every 8 or so hours, and require the device to have internet connection. So devices that appear offline have no real way of checking settings that might have been changed by a user, admin, or threat on the device. This is sort of where config refresh comes into play, and it will essentially reevaluate the current configuration and revert any changes that have been made back to the required state, even if the device is offline. Some of the key new features which this presents is essentially a reset operation to reset any settings you manage which use the policy CSP. Configuration options to allow reset of managed settings to take place as frequently as every 30 minutes. I believe the maximum of this is 1,440 minutes, so 1 day. And then the offline functionality, not requiring connectivity to an MDM server. We will also have the ability to pause config refresh for troubleshooting purposes should you require it, and then automatically resume it after 24 hours. You can also stipulate a different time frame, but we'll speak about that a bit further down. Essentially, in order to enable config refresh, a must is your computers must be running Windows 11 version 23H2 or version 22H2 with the June 2024 security update installed. In order to set up config reset, we need to follow the below steps which we've listed out. First step is to create a device configuration profile and select the settings catalog as the profile type. Under the settings picker, search for config refresh and then select config refresh and refresh cadence as listed over there. And next up, we will set config refresh to enable and then enter the duration under cadence. So this is going to be how often that it checks essentially. So as you can see in this example, we have it set to 30 minutes. Once again, all of this will be done in minutes. Just an important note on config refresh is designed to work with MDM policies managed by the policy CSP. So some policies, notably the BitLocker CSP, will adhere to config refresh enablement. However, other policies outside of scope such as Firewall, AppLocker, PDE and LAPS will not. So once the profile has rolled out, you will be able to find the new entry in the registry editor itself, and it will contain two values, cadence and enabled. The way this all essentially works is by the creation of a new scheduled task found, you can take a look at it in the Task Scheduler library under Task Scheduler Library, Microsoft Windows Enterprise Management Non-Critical, Intune Policy Provider, GUID, and schedule created by DM client to refresh settings. So in case there's also a need for pausing the config refresh, it used to be quite a convoluted way to do it previously. However, it's become a lot more simple. Essentially, all you need to do now is within Intune itself, under devices, go to device actions, and you will be given the option to pause config refresh. This will essentially allow us to pause config refresh between 0 and, once again, 1440 minutes, 24 hours. And then finally, if you want to know anything more about Microsoft or Azure, please feel free to reach out and contact us. You can drop us an email. Below we've got our email address. We've also provided our number. And that's pretty much it for this month's update. Thank you very much for watching.